All right, welcome everyone. Our first session of the day. This was the easy one for me. It's basically all the bigwigs in the industry. We just call it the state of the industry. I know last year Jason Knott ran this one, and it was a super crowded and popular session because everyone wants to know the opinions of the leadership of the key groups in the industry. So I don't know if they all need introductions, but if not, we're very fortunate to have CEDIA's Daryl Friedman, Richard Gleiks from Ozione, Hank Alexander from Oasis, John Robbins from HTSA, and Jim Pierce from ProSource. So everyone give them a hand for being here to start the sessions today. So guys, you know, I know we're going to have everyone's opinion on all the questions, so we're going to try and get through as much as we can. But one thing I just wanted to start off with, we'll make it really easy for you. Scale of 1 to 10, give us your number and kind of the main reasoning behind it. But on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how would you rate the health of the custom installation industry right now? Daryl, we'll start with you.
With me. Before I start, can we just say congratulations to Arlen for his new role at CE Pro. He's doing a great job.
Thank you very much.
I'm not going to give you my opinion. I'm going to give you the opinion of our members. We've done a lot of research on this, and optimism is incredibly high for the next 3 months, 6 months, and even the next 3 years. I'll get a little bit more into some of the research we're doing, but I'm going to give this a 9 because I think growth is on everyone's mind and growth is being expected. So curious to hear what my colleagues say.
All right, Richard, go ahead. Tough to follow a 9.
I think the industry is healthy and business is down. So I think right now I can tell you that we're down 9%. Others can tell me they're up, but it's a tough market. And I'm really happy with 9% because 21 and 22 were ridiculous. And we need to teach our vendors that comping numbers that are sky high you cannot compound growth year after year. And every once in a while you have to take a step back. I think we're in the midst of that. But the good news is we have enough employees about now. It's finally coming into, proper amount. And, we'll get through this. But it is a little tougher than we've been used to the last couple of years.
So it sounds like you're kind of maybe middle of the road, around a 5, 5.5.
No, it's an 8.
It's an 8. Okay, very good. Hank, how about yourself?
So first of all, congratulations on your new role, and thanks to the sponsors of the center stage. Yeah, I would give it a solid 8. We've worked through a lot of the challenges around supply chain constraints. Job cycles are really calmed down and really in good, healthy positions. Things seem to be kind of figuring themselves out. I would say it's a solid 8.
Great. John, go ahead.
Thanks for having me, Arlen. I'm going to agree with these two guys on an 8, but instead of solid, I think I'm going to say softer 8. This year, and Richard touched on it, we saw compounded growth in double digits for the last 8 years straight. This year, I think flat is the word. We're presently about 5% up after a horrific July. We had a really tough July. That said, August numbers look really, they've come back, what we've received so far look really strong. But I think and Richard's right, I think the vendors have to be prepared and they've got to tell who they report to that this is we're looking at a flat year. So I'm soft 8.
All right, hope we can grow that one. Jim.
Yeah, I'd say it's a 9. I do see a share shift amongst the verticals that we sell. So I think that luckily we've invested heavily into shades and lighting and training our members, and that's paying off in spades right now. I think that the AV business, I would say, is softer. But when I look at the overall business, it's certainly positive comp year over year. So I think the back half is going to be a little bit better.
Great. Well, thank you very much for those candid answers. Daryl,
Yeah, one more point on this, because I think we're talking about the year to date, but if you think about where we were in January versus where we are in September, it's a very different situation. I can tell you, CEDIA in January, we put on a webinar about how to survive the coming recession. We had people who survived 2008, integrators, and talking about this is what's going to happen. This is what's, what be prepared for. And where we are today, I think, is very different. Just if I could just share a couple of stats from our survey. For the next 12 months, 72% of our members said growth, and 21% said the same, and 7% said a decrease. Audio Visions also did their own survey, and they shared that with us, and it tracked very similarly. So I think there's a lot of optimism. I think that's why you're seeing the sort of 8 to 9 range here on this panel.
Right, and this is pretty soon before we do our own state of the industry research. So we'll be hearing more about that growth a little later in the year as we prepare for our January issue. So we'll see if everything kind of aligns with that. But that's a good lead into my next question, which is in terms of the business operations side of all your members. For the first part of 2023, could each of you give us an example of maybe hopefully not try to dupe too much with each other, but one example where your members are finding a lot of success, and one example where they're still struggling and really, leaning on you guys for more support and guidance, heading into next year. Daryl, we'll start for you.
Same order?
Let's do same order.
I shouldn't have sat in this seat. Okay. Well, the growth area, and again, this is from what I hear anecdotally and also from the survey we just did, is lighting and shading. This is one of the key areas that integrators are finding amazing growth, amazing margins. So I think that's probably one of the great positives. And they're starting to look at some new categories and seeing a lot of promise in there. Like, I wouldn't call them new categories, but emerging categories like wellness, sustainability, power management. The challenge today is the same challenge I heard when we started, which was labor. And as such an industry with all this optimism about growth, if you can't find the technicians and the salespeople to work for you, you can't capitalize on that growth. The one thing that's different between today and last year is that CEDIA took action with our CEDIA Next Gen project, which is a toolkit for integrators to use to help recruit that. But we're still hearing that. We had a town hall this morning about this topic of CEDIA Next Gen, and people are still struggling with that. So I think that's one thing we have to continue to work on.
I'm going to refuse to answer the question and change the subject. So the market really, if you look at the market in 3 segments, the lower end of the market, the middle of the market, and the high end of the market. So there is no low end business right now. That evaporated. It doesn't exist. The middle of the market is hit or miss, and the high end of the market is flourishing. And if you're dealing with 1%ers or 1/2 of 1%ers, you're having a good run. The problem is that we need all those to hit. The other thing that I looked at our statistics for last year, and we all got hit with the inflation banter in that September-October timeframe of last year. And I think we would all consistently say that the last 3 months of last year were pretty bad, comparatively speaking. And the good news is now we're up against some weaker numbers because we've been trying to comp pretty good numbers for their first 7 or 8 months. So I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel if we can stay consistent. Our June was horrendous. We were down 23% in June. We bounced back in July. So I have promised that I think we can hit our numbers because of the weakness of last year.
Great. Hank, how about yourself, especially with the rebranding of the different divisions as well, and what you're doing within the Oasis branding?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll answer it. On our side, our successes, we're seeing a lot of help, a lot of success with process management, education. We partnered with Daryl and CEDIA for the CEDIA Education Academy. So we've got a lot of success around those initiatives. Certainly, labor continues to be a problem. We've got members who want to promote somebody, and they don't have somebody to take that other person's position. So it's backfilling positions, finding that next technician, and we're partnering with a lot of different people in the industry to help that along. And yeah, it's a constant struggle. I think it will probably be a struggle into 24 and 25, but it's the right partners and finding the right people. Like John and Richard, our April was bad, so I don't know what happened for us in April that didn't happen to you guys, but our April was the one that was kind of rough.
John, go ahead.
The good news is it was only 1 month for all.
Yeah, it was only 30
different
days.
Months. So obviously lighting for us is a huge, huge part of what we're doing. And it's all dependent on the education. We have made, 6 years ago, we made a very strong commitment with the addition of Tom Doherty to come in and teach us how to get into this category. And what has been most gratifying to me is that when we got in, we talked about, well, are we looking is it just about incremental business? And that wasn't the main reason that we got in. I think I may have touched on this last year. We got into lighting to help us get into the process earlier. And for the first time at our spring conference in April, we were hearing members saying that we're being called into projects prior to the hiring of GCs. That's humongous. I mean, that's really what we were going for. So the whole thing goes back to education on every level. And there's a high ramp up in lighting for education. We added Light-a-Palooza for everybody because we think that we need to bring up the level, that we work together, all the groups for the whole industry. So we're pretty, despite the fact that we think it's going to be a flat year, we're pretty bullish on what's coming.
And then I know you have a lot of other services as well. What are some of the things that your members are struggling with that you're trying to address with different programs and education?
So labor is obviously, it's been touched on. Labor is the universal issue. What we did this year is we created a video in conjunction with One Firefly to actually, for our members to use to help promote what the industry looks like. That it's an exciting industry for possible and potential employees. That they can bring people and show people these videos, potential technicians, that this is a really cool industry. It's fun. And our members are using this to help attract new talent.
Nice. And it's very cool seeing videos sort of rise in the industry right now. I know Kat's in the audience. We give her a plug for their new service.
She always gets a plug from us.
And then I know writing about the Guild and that Integrator Alliance, that they've got a slick new documentary style film that they're debuting at this event too. So everything is really trying to lift up the industry. Jim, how about you? Obviously you guys are behind the lighting train as well. What are some of the other areas that you're seeing success, and then where are you guys trying to help your members?
Yeah, in talking with our vendors, there's a couple areas that have been a little bit of a struggle in the CI space. One is just really getting good at operations in the business. And when we were discussing that with them, they pointed out that the project manager position within their businesses is so important to profitability because it drives labor efficiency, it drives inventory, it drives purchasing. And so we stood up a hands-on training in Virginia to do training of project managers for a week. And what we found is when you start to teach project managers about leadership, you start to teach project managers about the financial acumen required to really drive a better outcome, it's been amazingly successful and sold out for as long as the calendar allows for these events. And I think that when I look at the lighting category, it's now time to accelerate that category. A lot of, over 50% of our members are selling lighting. And the question is, what we found is that it's one thing to go down to Dallas to our LTC and learn about lighting, but then they would come home and get paralyzed because it's intimidating. It's scary. You don't want to screw up a big job. And so we've adjusted our curriculum to something called Launchpad, which is a hands-on, face-to-face, week-long training that teaches them how to do the business. Like, how do I operationalize the business? How do I bid the business? How do I sell in? How do I integrate into that process, to your point, of getting up front and becoming the technology expert? I call it the technology general manager on these projects. And so we're kind of moving on from pulling the training wheels off and beginning to really accelerate that category. I think in terms of one of the important headwinds that I don't think gets discussed as much is the volatility of TV pricing in our industry is a big problem. And the reason for that is because obviously they're bidding jobs. They don't happen for 6 months later, and the TV manufacturers are feeling the pressure right now. And so as a result, their roadmaps are going up and down, sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. And that's causing pressure on our CI guys. And I am very concerned about the TV business in terms of its long-term viability in the CI channel. And so it's something that we've been talking with our vendors about as we're here at CEDIA.
All right, sounds good. So obviously, lighting is that's a huge opportunity for everyone. Let's go from the business side to the technology side. You know, the main reason why everyone's here, checking out the show floor. But you've also all are also trying to stay ahead of the curve. You know, something that clearly Tom Doherty has been all over with that kind of thing for HTSA. From your membership, where else are you seeing the potential opportunities on the technical side? Daryl, I know you had the Propel program that were, trying to elevate some of those new things. There's certainly appliances, smart, different ways of the IoT that seem to be being used. What's CEDIA looking at right now from a technological standpoint, driving the trends that you're seeing?
Well, since you said right now, I'll tell you about actually today. We are releasing a new recommended practice for immersive audio design. This is a game-changing document. I encourage everybody to get it soon before the site crashes. We had about 1,000 people in 24 hours sign up for the pre-release launch. But essentially what this does, it's technical to Arlen's point, and it does explain different levels of doing immersive audio. But it also is a great tool for your marketing people, for your sales people, because you can then explain to them why they're getting this great quality. And it also is the first time it's tiered. So if you're working on a project that's a simple media room, you can use this immersive audio standard, provide great content. On the other extreme, you can be doing a home cinema for Peter Jackson, and you're going to also have that level to work with. So from a technical side, we think that is going to be a game changer. If you are interested in it, it's cedia.net/RP22, which is the name of the recommended practice, but that's something that we're really excited about, and it actually is being released today.
Fantastic, and I'm sure from your standpoint of coming from the music industry, that one's kind of a baby of yours, just to elevate that whole experience for the dealers to give to their customers.
Yeah, exactly.
Richard, how about you? What are some of the things that Azione is looking at? You always seem to be on the cutting edge of some of the new guys that you bring in as vendor partners.
I get to change the subject again. We're trying to get more into the levels of our members. Our owners really love us, but we're not sure that the installers know who we are, who the salespeople know who we are, who the operations people know we are. So we're doing soft meetings with them. So this year we did a sales meeting with 6 of our vendors and 60 dealers. We did it again with lead technicians. We did that in cooperation with Leon, and they got to see a factory in action, which was really pretty jazzy. We always do 2 meetings for our owners, and all our vendors come, 250, 300 people. But now, for about the last 4 years, we're trying to find other layers that we can go in and have them, they think they're out there alone. It's amazing when they get in a group. Now they have shoulders to lean on, people to share ideas with, and they understand the organization better. We actually review all our vendor programs with them, and we do a basic understanding of finances, of profit and loss statements, and balance sheets. And people that are doing installation don't realize how impactful their labor is to the overall bottom line, to the point where if they were two hours more efficient a week, it's about 3 or 4 points to the bottom line. So these are the kind of little soft things we're doing. I don't know if that's technology, but it certainly makes us stronger and the organization better.
Yeah, I think it definitely all intertwines to technology, and especially it's a unique way that you're using your vendor partners like Leon to go bring your guys up to that facility, and so they're getting benefits of, the things that they're there to learn, but then also hearing about one of your vendors specifically, who we know, like, in the case of Leon, they're doing customization, industrial design, some of the things that we talked about before.
And culture.
Right, exactly.
Can never forget culture. Azione's about culture. These groups, I'm sure, are about culture, and we work very hard to develop culture and an affinity and a love. Like, people don't switch groups because they love the people in the group. So we all look for new dealers.
Hank, how about on the the luxury high end of things that I'm sure most of your members work in? What are some of the requests that they're hearing a little bit more these days?
Yeah, so we're in a little bit of a unique situation because we do have some hybrid dealers that are in the luxury appliance business as well. On the technology side, yeah, we, obviously vendor visits and those kinds of things. We partnered also along with CEDIA, and our partner was a Powerhouse, along with doing some of the networking classes and trying to teach and educate and bring people up to the technology a little bit more. Our events, like everybody's events, are really kind of geared towards business owners more, one-on-ones with vendors and education and those kinds of things. So it's getting the salespeople to our vendor community. It's getting the installers to places like Powerhouse to do the networking classes and those kinds of things. So it's all about that education and the push. And yeah, we do hear a lot from our appliance vendors about smart home and their push into the smart home and those kinds of things. So we have some hybrid dealers out there as well.
Yeah, that could definitely be an opportunity coming up. I know,
Absolutely.
having been to IBS, the Builders Show, you're seeing a bit more of them cater to that too. I know it's the whole integration of it that might be the halt, in between, but we'll see how it goes.
If you show up at KBIS or IBS,
Right.
one of those, it's amazing the amount of integration companies. A lot of these companies that are here on this floor are at that show. It's really kind of surprising that they've started to embrace each other.
Yep. John, how about you from the non-Light-a-Palooza end of things?
So while technology is really important to us, and I forgot what the question was, and I'm glad you,
About the
you gave
technology.
it to me again. So we are really working hard to try to find the balance between technology and relationships. And one of the things that we preach, we have some very unique curriculum for, number one, salespeople, which we have week-long curriculums that have been written and orchestrated by Keith Esterly, who is an unbelievable talent that has the ability to go and get with our people. We have a management skills seminar that's a 2-day seminar that we spend time with people. And then we just finished a project managers meeting yesterday. Here we had 38 people for the last day and a half here in the convention center. They were tired last night. They went through a pretty grueling couple of days, but trying to find and really leverage the technology and make sure that we make the connection on the relationship side, whether it's with the consumer or with the design community. That's what we're really focused on.
Great. And then we'll wrap it up with Jim before we do some Q&A. Jim, you guys have a pretty wide-ranging portfolio of vendors. Where are some of the things that are seeing traction in recent months or so?
Yeah, so first thing, I want to thank you for the partnership on the AI symposium today. I thought that was really good. The feedback that I got was great, so thanks for the partnership on that. It was very good. One of the areas that I've been looking at is control and the evolution of the control business, and there seems to be RMR creeping into that, kind of area of the, technology, and we're really promoting to really take a look around. Like guys like Nice, they're doing a very good job, kind of just sticking to, kind of a core, group of products that make it very easy for the consumer. And I think that what's happening, the macro control market and requirements from customers seems to be going to more of a sub-control category. And a lot of that is because they use phones and they know how to control it and everything. And it's really, it drives a different level of profitability. It drives a different level of engagement from the customers. And in terms of the customer service that you offer, that's something that we're, looking at very closely. The other thing is the streaming aspect of AVR receiver category. We just signed on Hi-Fi Rose, and it's an amazing product that is kind of mind-blowing. It's like an iPhone on a on an amplifier. And I think that there will be more things like that as we begin to understand how important streaming is and control of streaming is, kind of, in the industry. The final technology, kind of old school, Roger Kaler, we used to work at Soundtrack together. We're seeing, we've kind of put a push on 2-channel. And like what, even though it's old, technology, when you really look at the monitor technology that's happening within these speakers, where they're all-in-one packages, it's a very easy add-on. And so we're starting to see that pop up in 2 or 3 homes in the house, and as that technology continues to get better and better and better, and it sounds killer because it's all designed by one engineer. So those are some of the things I'm seeing.
Yeah, and I think we'd echo that too. We're seeing just the bump in fidelity as, people got more access to what's out there. Now they want to see it all in better quality, better resolution and all that. So with that, I want to thank you guys for the insights. Let's see if anyone else in the audience has any Q&A. This is your time. We have a microphone. If people are brave and want to go and stand up in front of it, you have access to 5 great industry leaders right now. So who wants to start us off? Anyone? There we go,
Of
right
course
off
I'll
the bat.
start. I have a question. You guys were asked specifically about last year, but nobody asked about Q4. Just out of curiosity, I think, Richard, you kind of mentioned you expect to kind of spank your Q4 numbers because Q4 was bad last year. What are you all looking at for Q4 this year versus last year?
Yeah, I think slightly up for Q4. I think that much like the business trends that you're hearing, it seems to be like the business is gaining traction in July and August. And so we're beginning to, kind of set an expectation that maybe that momentum will continue as we move to the, to the back half. So we're expecting slightly up in the fourth quarter.
Well, I want to go back to something Jim mentioned about TV pricing. So it's very difficult to comp your numbers when the product declines in price. And growth is measured in dollars, not in profit. So what happens is when the TV goes down 10%, you've got to sell 10% more TVs. Well, we have that problem, and now we have a problem with the receivers also, because it seems like nobody wants to lose market share. So I would implore our vendors to think about profitability, not market share. And that's what I think, at the end of the day, will all be healthier. And I think that the last quarter is actually going to be pretty good. I don't think it's going to be great. I think we're going to slip through. I think the stock market the last couple of days has been a little shaky, but it's moving back in the right direction. We need consumer confidence to go up. We need housing starts to come up. They've moved a little bit. That's good for our industry. And we need to stop declining prices. Raise your prices. If the flow of customers is the same, you have to raise the ticket. I bet you Keith teaches this, right? That customer's black Amex is just as good for 100,000 as it is for 200,000. And we need to learn to sell down and not up. And we need to maximize every single client in a down market. But the good news is our comps are a little worse for the last quarter, so we should come out fine.
Yeah, one thing I would say on Q4 more specifically is diversification. For our dealers that are diversified and they've made that investment, their business is very, very strong because they have that incrementality in the different verticals, and so I think that for those that have placed a bet and worked hard to get into those businesses, their business is going to be very, very strong. And as we're going around CEDIA, you can see the maturation of some of these categories in the industry. And I really implore everybody to get on board in these various verticals, health, wellness, shades, lighting, to ensure that the downturn in the AV business that you're referring to, whether we all see the TV numbers, TV's down 9 and units are flat, and so that's a big challenge for the industry, and that needs to be offset by implementing secondary verticals.
Yeah. Just one thing on Q4 I wanted to mention is, and it's not an exact answer to your question, but it's a little bit of a heads up. We're going to be releasing in Q4 the CEDIA's first major research project on size and scope of the industry, trends, market share, emerging categories, et cetera. It's going to be very different than anything we've done this year. I see Randy Stearns is in the audience from D-Tools. D-Tools was a huge partner with us on this. We ingested so much more data than just a survey, a portal also, and you're going to see some really robust data and some some shifts in some of the thinking in terms of our size and scope. So look for that in Q4 as well.
Great, and yeah, we happen to be working with D-Tools a bit too, because we know someone who's running their data division department. It's kind of close to home. Of course, Jason, who ran this last year and for many years at CE Pro. So anyone else have another question for us?
I'll answer Jeff real quick.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, I'll answer Jeff real quick.
We're thinking 5% up. We've got full pipes. Our guys have full pipes. And that's one of the reasons, we want to have this growth, we'll try to have this growth. And again, at the risk of sounding repetitive, training these people to sell up. One of our key things that we talk to our salespeople about is, we say, if there's anything on this proposal, when you're talking to the one percenters, if there's anything on this proposal that you can afford, you're probably underselling the people. So those are the kind of things that we are very cognizant of.
So I'll add real quick on Q4, not quite as optimistic maybe as John Robbins, but it'll be up. We're comping some down numbers, so back half of last year was rough. And so it'll be a little bit better this year, and I think that Q4 is going to be up slightly over last year.
Good.
Hey, can you guys comment on what you're seeing around mix in terms of new construction versus, kind of the reno model? I know there's inventories tight with houses right now on existing sales. A lot of people don't want to kind of move because they locked in low rates. So would be curious to hear what you're hearing or feeling with your members on the mix from a resi perspective, and then any thoughts on the commercial market that you guys are seeing.
Who wants to talk on that one?
Yeah, I could start. I would say the middle market production, middle to lower end production, housing starts are dropping off, and so if you're really leaning into production type business, I would say it's getting tough. When you go to the higher end, I think somebody commented on this earlier, that business remains robust because, if you have millions of dollars, you're making money for doing nothing right now. And so that business is continuing to, accelerate. I would say that there's a lot more remodels in the market that we're seeing as opposed to just relying on new construction. But, people are remodeling. To your point, they're staying in their houses, longer because they have a 3% interest rate. So that business continues to get stronger and stronger.
Yeah, I would echo that. Certainly the production side is rough right now. The middle and upper is really good because interest rates have jumped so much. People are staying in their home and remodeling now. On our side, we just stood up a commercial division, so our commercial business is growing. We've got a lot of dealers on the Oasis side that are resimercial as well, and they're seeing a nice jump in that side of their business. So yeah, it's certainly interest rates are going to change that lower end of the market.
Ditto, production and middle market for us. It's not where we're living right now. Top 1%. Again, building a lot of vacation homes still. And the interesting thing is the people that buy these very expensive homes are buying them for cash. So interest rates are not really a part of it. But if you do talk to, John Heyman has done extensive research on new construction. And he is seeing that in late 24 into 25, they expect, according to the research they've done, they expect to have an explosion of new construction.
Very good. Jim?
We should put that guy on the panel. Looks like he's been to every show over the last 50 years.
Yeah.
Did anyone else want to speak to the commercial opportunity? I know there are some issues and initiatives around that, especially with the membership, the Drive to 1,000, things like that.
Well, Drive to 1,000. I think we had a meeting with the nationwide team, and we looked at an opportunity. Voids don't exist for very long, which is why Ozione exists. There was a void. Nobody was addressing the integrator channel, and 11, 12 years ago, I started a group to address that void. We see that same thing to a degree in commercial right now, so we have started a commercial division to fill that void. and our moniker is Drive to 1,000. Hank would like to have 600 dealers. We're at 290. We'd like to be at 300. We don't have far to go. And we'd like Chris to have 100, and that would be 1,000, and that would serve the industry very well. So, and it's a nice moniker, and it's a, you know, I love goals. I love to, you know, challenges, and this is pretty exciting, I think, to try to have 1,000 people in the integration channel.
And Daryl, how about one last word on that from you? Obviously, CEDIA, you guys work with AVIXA on the ISE show, and that's the, you know, the largest trade show in the world, and it combines those. Obviously, we here, you know, have the Commercial Integrator Expo starting this year that we hope to continue for a long time. What's your take on where the commercial, light commercial, resi-mercial fits into this show?
Well, we're hearing more and more from our integrators that they're doing that type of work. Obviously, it's very different than the AVIXA type of work with this, you know, very large-scale products. But you know, most of our integrators, they're doing some millionaire's home, and the guy says, "Come do my office, my conference room," or vice versa, or the restaurant chain that I own. So we are seeing that convergence. So it is interesting to see how this segment will grow at CEDIA Expo. Of course, CEDIA's focus is resi, and it always will be, and so that's where we are putting our education and all of our efforts. But very happy to see those who want to work in that resi-commercial area have an opportunity to learn here at CEDIA Expo.
All right. Anyone else have a question for us?
I have a question. Why do we have feedback in an audio event?
Sounds like it was all from you, Richard. All right. Well, with that, I guess we'll wrap things up. So again, thank you very much to my all-star cast here on the panel. Really appreciate your time, guys. Once again, we'll throw a thank you to the lead sponsor, NICE, and we'll look forward. They have the next session out here, but we'll look forward to a great day here and an awesome agenda here on the Smart Stage today and tomorrow, and finishing it up Saturday.
Thanks for having us, and again, thanks to the sponsors.
Round of applause from
Here, Arlen.
Thanks, everyone. And thank you, everyone, for attending.